I recently worked with a couple who wanted to spice things up in the bedroom and decided to explore, you'll never guess it, Bukkake. Let's just call them Tom and Jane. Now, if you're not familiar with this term, Bukkake is a sexual practice that originates in Japan that involves a group of men ejaculating onto a single individual, usually on his or her or their face. Basically, it's when a group of guys turn the person in the center into a big semen-frosted human cinnamon roll. Am I the only one who can't get this visual out of my head? Get it? Because it's like cream. Human cinnamon roll. Let's fucking go. My clients had been together for years when she brought this idea to the table. I already had some context about their sexual relationship because I had been working with Tom towards overcoming his erectile dysfunction issues. And now that those were a thing of the past, the couple had opened up to exploring new sexual adventures. By the way, if you want the exact system that I used with Tom, check out my Hard As You Want course, link in the description. All right, back to my couple. So they were pretty sexually open already, and they recently opened up to the idea of bringing other people into the mix of their sex lives. Having a group of men ejaculate onto Jane's face felt edgy. I mean, even for this pretty wild couple. So they wanted to explore the idea in the safe container of coaching before taking the dive into the pool of jizz. Now, I'm really glad they came to me because before engaging in a new and edgy sexual practice, it is super important to get clear on a few things in order to maintain physical and emotional safety throughout the experience. And when it comes to Bukkake, there are a few practical things that people always forget to consider. I'll get to those, but first let's dive into how Tom and Jane approached this new idea and how you can approach any new edgy sexual idea with your partner. Part 1, ensuring consent and, you guessed it, communication. Before engaging in any sexual activity, including Bukkake, it is crucial to ensure that all participants are consenting adults who have clearly communicated their boundaries and desires. And it is important that the consent is informed. All parties understand explicitly what they are agreeing to and why they're doing it. The why part is actually really important. Open communication, understanding of each person's comfort level, what they want to get out of the experience, are essential for creating a safe and enjoyable and memorable experience for everybody. Once you've established a commitment to this kind of openness, the next step is to get clear on your why, which brings me to part 2, exploring the appeal of Bukkake. Tom and Jane were both intrigued by the idea of engaging in Bukkake, but before they made the commitment, because you can't undo it, there's no like Control R, Control Z. There's no Control Z. What the fuck is Control R? It was important for them to understand why they wanted to do it and to make sure that their individual desires aligned in a way that made them both comfortable and also everyone else that was going to be involved too, right? Understanding the why is an important part of giving informed consent. So what is the appeal of Bukkake? Well, number 1, exhibitionism and voyeurism, which if those terms are unfamiliar, I did a whole video series on it. For some, the thrill of being watched or watching others during a sexual act can be really hot. And because Bukkake is a group activity, it allows for a sense of both voyeurism and exhibitionism that isn't really possible in a one-on-one setting. Jane loved the idea of watching multiple men jerk off over her, and she loved the idea of Tom seeing other men being aroused by her. This feeling of viewing and also being viewed was incredibly hot to her. Tom was also into the idea of seeing other men masturbate to and onto Jane. He loved the idea that these men could touch themselves to the sight of her without being able to touch her directly. He fantasized about these guys jerking off onto her and then them leaving the room so that the two of them could be alone and he could touch her in the way that only he was allowed to. Number 2, power dynamics and degradation. The second major appeal of Bukkake is the exploration of degradation and power. There's something demeaning about coming on someone's face. It's dominant, puts them in a subordinate place, and it's kind of filthy and disrespectful. I mean, at least in the Western world, we have a lot of prohibitions about getting your bodily fluids on another person, like sneezing or coughing on another person, huge taboo. Peeing on another person, mostly a taboo. Future video. Being filthy and disrespectful can be incredibly hot when done properly. The exploration of power dynamics in sexuality is incredibly common. Bukkake just happens to be a more extreme and sort of multiplayer way of engaging with this turn on. Bukkake is interesting because the dominance and submission can be felt in more complicated and nuanced ways. Like for Jane, it was obvious that she was the person in the degraded and submissive role, right? Because she's the one kneeling while guys ejaculate onto her face and body. But when we took a little bit of a deeper dive, we discovered that Tom also felt elements of submission when he thought about the experience. Because he was in a group of men, he didn't feel the position of power that he usually felt in their one-on-one sex life. He felt like watching a group of guys jerk off onto his wife was demeaning to him somehow. It felt dirty, but like in a way that he was like a big yes to. Again, the key was that they were working in a safe space to explore these complicated emotions. Both Tom and Jane were dedicated to creating a secure environment where they could play around with these feelings and desires. And then number 3, novelty and fantasy fulfillment. Now, the last major draw to Bukkake happens to be a really simple one. It's novel. I mean, there are few things that take you out of your regular sex routine as much as this like kink from Japan that like very few people actually get to physically experience. On top of the novelty, it's something that we most often see on the internet. Like, it's not gonna take you more than one Google search to find some Bukkake videos. That's all I'll say on that. There can be something really alluring about acting out a pornographic activity, especially one that you've been like watching and jacking off to for maybe a while. And for Tom and Jane, the allure was mainly trying something truly extreme that had them stepping really far out of their routines. And I think everyone can understand the desire to really shake things up in a way that turns us on. So now that we're clear on the most common whys, let's get to the how. Because when it comes to Bukkake, there are some precautions and steps that you need to keep in mind in order to try it safely. Number 1, get tested. This one might go without saying, but better safe than sorry. Whenever you're bringing new partners into your sex life, it is important that everybody get tested, and Bukkake is no different. Especially considering all the fluids that are flying around everywhere, it is important to make sure that all participants are free from STIs. Now, that said, if you have people participating that you have a high degree of trust with, you have a container that is very secure and very tightly set up, and there's gonna be no physical contact between someone's ejaculate and the recipient's mucous membrane, so eyes, nose, mouth, vagina, anus, I would consider that receiving ejaculate from here to here, generally pretty safe if you don't have any open wounds. But generally, just go get tested for everybody's sake, please. Thank you. Number 2, have protection handy. Although Bukkake involves semen flying around freely, it is important to have condoms on hand for any sexual experiences. Unless you've explicitly said no, nothing is going to happen, you always want to be prepared. You never know how your night's going to end up, where desire is going to take you. So make sure to bring some protection just in case having penetrative sex is something that you want to explore and experience. It's always just good to be prepared. Hell, while you're at it, grab some lube. Simple. Number 3, prioritize hygiene. Look, there is nothing like poor personal hygiene to ruin any sexual experience. But when it's a group sport, it only gets that much more important. Make sure that everybody is as close to freshly showered as possible. And if you are the cinnamon roll in this situation, you're gonna wanna have proper cleaning products on hand. Warm, wet towel might be great for you to enjoy immediately afterward. You will also want to give yourself a proper wash using soap to avoid any potential skin reactions. Number 4, protect the eyes. Just be aware that ejaculate can cause and does cause irritation to the eye. It can also cause infection if it comes into contact with the eyes. And there are lots of ways to decrease this risk, including making sure that everyone gives a warning, some kind of sign before they come so that the receiver can close her eyes, making the eyes and face a no-fly zone, again, pearl necklaces instead of face stuff, or even wearing protective eyewear. Number 5, establish a safe word. All participants should agree on a safe word or signal that can be used to stop the activity, and I mean everyone. If someone becomes uncomfortable or experiences distress, they need to have a way to take care of themselves by stopping the action. You can use yellow to signal that you're getting close to an edge, and red to signal that everything needs to stop. I love these safe words because they're very popular. A lot of people are familiar with them, but inside of the container, when you say, this is what we're doing, this is how we're gonna do it, establish at that time before anything happens what the safe word is, and make sure that every single person involved knows it. Safe word, safe word, safe word. This is just good stuff. for all sexual encounters, even if it's just one-on-one. Even if you're just playing tennis instead of soccer. Number 6, aftercare. Aftercare is essential to all sexual encounters. It allows you to come back into yourself as well as reconnect to your partner in a way that has you feeling safe and grounded. But it is especially important after edgier sex practices. It is essential to provide emotional care and physical care for all participants afterward, as these are intense and vulnerable experiences. This could involve checking in on each other's well-being. It could be addressing any emotional or physical concerns. It may be just taking a moment to cuddle or breathe together or have a laugh or process what happened. This is also a part of the way that you know that the experience is over. You know, if you're going into a big and edgy sexual experience, it can be really helpful to have a start, a middle, and an end, so that we know that we're going into a special space, we're enjoying this experience, and then once it's complete, it's complete. We close the door on it, we have the sexy memories, but there's no sort of like trailing energy. It's finished. So once Tom and Jane addressed all of the factors needed for a safe and fun Bukkake experience, the only thing left to do was send out the invitations to a group of trusted men. And maybe Bukkake is not for you, right? It's certainly something that most people in this lifetime are not going to experience in person, no matter how frequently they watch it in porn. But no matter what kind of edgy sexual experience you want to engage in, it always starts with confidence. Confidence within yourself, in your ability, your capacity to deliver, to perform, to do what you want to do, right? It's one thing to have a fantasy, but it's another thing to actually been able to enact it and know that your body's going to do what you are expecting it when you expect it. So if you are dealing with ED, I highly recommend that you check out my Hard As You Want course. It is the same system that I taught to Tom that got him to the place where he felt confident that he would be able to get hard and get off inside of this titillating new experience. Oishikatta. I'm Caitlin V. Thank you for watching. I'll see you here next week.